everyone. Welcome back to my book corner for another very exciting book review today. Today I am reviewing Witches of Ash and Rune by Latimer. This one was a random find for me. I ended up going to my local public library and I picked this one out of the young adult section basically on a whim. I was just wandering around and this one really caught my attention when I read the inside cover and I thought, uh, okay, let's just give this one a shot. I like supernatural books. Maybe it'll be good. And I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised with this one. And I'll explain why more in a bit. So, what's this book about? Basically, our main character, Dana, is what they call a witchling in the book. She's struggling to cope with somatic OCD and the aftermath of basically being outed as a bisexual in her really super conservative Irish town. Then, shortly into the book, a witch turns up murdered at a local sacred site, and it looks to be the work of an infamous serial killer that's been killing for decades. So the whole book basically revolves around, I'd say, that mystery of the serial killer, and then it includes witches and gods, even. It had a very supernatural vibe, which I loved, and it carried that whole vibe throughout the entire book. So at least it was consistent. So, what did I like about it? Now, I'm a super fast reader, but I do feel like this was actually a pretty quick read, and I do really enjoy that. I appreciate a quick read that's going to capture my attention and actually hold on to it, which this book did very well. I also liked Dana, the main character. I thought she was really down to earth. I don't think she really had any qualities that I found annoying, and I thought she was really relatable. So 10 out of 10 for the main character. The surrounding cast also, I would give a 10 out of 10 in this book. The other witches and even her love interest, Minor King, who you guys will love to if you read this book, were all really lovely additions to the story. Um, they were developed enough that they each had personalities of their own, and it didn't really feel forced, and the characters didn't feel underdeveloped in any sort of way. And I really like that she spent time to develop the supporting cast because without them, it really would have felt like half a book. They just gave it so much personality. In addition to that, I loved the supernatural tone of the book. I'm a huge sucker for supernatural anything. You give me witches and mystery, hell yes, sign me up. The book stayed true to that tone the entire time, and I just absolutely adored it. And in addition to that, I also loved all of the twists and turns of the book. It had enough of them that I actually didn't feel like I saw them all coming, and I was pleasantly shocked a few times, which I really needed. I need more of that in my books because I read so many books that I can usually predict what's going to happen beforehand, and it kind of takes the fun out of it for me. So there were some things, in this book that even I was surprised at, which I can't say thanks enough to the author for actually surprising me for once. But of course, I didn't like everything about this book. So what didn't I like about it? I'm not trying to give away spoilers or anything, but the overly religious folks in her town and the way they treated her was a huge downside. I understood why it was there in the story and for the plot line and sake of that, but I really, I really didn't care for it. Now, another thing I also hated, and this is a big one for me. Oh my God, I hated the ending. I hated it. And I'll touch more on this later to give you guys a fair warning of any spoilers, but it ended on a cliffhanger. And normally that'd be fine for me. I don't mind cliffhangers. I think cliffhangers are great. It does, sets a book up for a possible sequel. And in the case of this book, it absolutely needs a sequel because the ending was hot garbage. And I need resolution that I feel I'm not getting in this book currently. In addition to the ending, which I didn't like, I really didn't like how long it took for the relationship between her and Minor to develop. They were both really likable characters, and I thought that her and Minor should have gotten together a lot sooner than they did. That felt dragged out, and it annoyed me a couple times, but all in all, it was okay towards the end. In addition to that, her best friend Reagan, I thought didn't get enough time in the book. Besides Dana, I thought Reagan was the most interesting character, and she had a great personality. But she was meant to be a side character, and I totally understand that. But I really wanted to see a lot more of her in the book, and we didn't get to. So if there's a sequel, let's put more Reagan in the book or give Reagan her own book. That would be great too. Um, Also, I didn't think there was enough history behind the story in this book to explain why things were the way they were. I did feel like I had to draw a lot of conclusions, and I don't really like that. I don't want to draw conclusions on my own as to the history between the covens, the women themselves, and things like that. I needed more backstory to be able to have it feel more well rounded for me. And the last thing I really didn't like, the unanswered questions. And this goes hand in hand with me telling you guys I hated the ending. Um, I hate unanswered questions more than anything. I want you to wrap a book up in a nice, neat bow for me, even if it's not a happy ending. It doesn't have to be a happy ending, but I need to feel that there's conclusion. And since there's no hint to a sequel for this book, and this book really needs a sequel, you guys, I'm extremely unhappy about all the unanswered questions, especially my number one unanswered question being the really, really confusing ending. And I did a lot of Google searching to find out if there was gonna be a sequel for this. Couldn't find any hint of it, not even on the author's website, nothing. So, as this book stands now, the ending left a really sour taste for me. And that was really disappointing because it really was a really good book. So, taking all of that into consideration, what's my rating for this? You guys remember our scale. I'm going to say just 2 stars. All right, all right, all right. I'm only giving it the all right because of the ending. Now, I really do recommend reading this book, especially if you're into supernatural themes, mysteries, thrillers. It was a really, really good read. And the main character and all of her supporting cast, fantastic. For that reason alone, you should read this book. It's enough of a reason to get enjoyment out of it just because of all of the interactions between the characters. It's a good book, 100%. There's no question about it. But I have to give it the 2 stars because of what I said before about the unanswered questions and the cliffhanger. I could get behind the cliffhanger if there was even a hint of a sequel coming out. But because this book was actually printed in 2020 and there is no information on the sequel still, I have to give it 2 stars because the ending left me very unsatisfied. The cliffhanger, plus, I probably think I had maybe half a dozen questions that had no resolution. It's enough for me to give it the all right rating. But I also don't recommend buying this book. As of right now, I don't think there's any reread value in it. But do what I did. Go to your local library, show them some love. It's a great read for a rainy day, and I really don't think you guys would be disappointed in spending an afternoon reading on this one. But with that, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this book. Have you read it? Did you love it or hate it? Are you even interested in reading it? Let me know. And until next time, thank you for stopping by my book corner. I'll see you guys soon.